this is your first time, my name's Elizabeth. I'm so happy to meet you and have you here. I'm the founder of Business 411, and I've been in the roofing industry since 2015. I actually started off on the technology and software side. I used to do door-to-door and cold call sales to roofing contractors to try to sell them measurement software and tools. This is back in the days when the only competitor that was there was actually EagleView. So I've measured, estimated, and created material orders for thousands of jobs out there for the US and Canada. And I've trained many sales teams on how to use software, how to do their sales presentations, and so much more at my time there. And then I actually went ahead and started Business 411 in 2019. So exciting. We grew from 0 to 500 projects in just the first 10 months. And now we get to work with over 4,000 roofing contractors. Thank you to everyone who's ever purchased one of our manuals, attended our classes, is part of our university, or in some way, shape, or form supports our community. I'm so grateful because we get to work in an industry that we love, serving people. Our main cause at Business 411 is to improve the perception of roofing contractors or contractors in general. So often, whenever I tell people I'm in roofing, they look at me like I have two heads, like, why on earth are you in the roofing industry? And for me, once I got started in roofing, it's just, I fell in love with it. I really love the construction process. And thankfully, I get to work on more of like what a lot would consider the admin and operations side, and stay inside. So I don't have to be out in that hot sun like many of you. I don't know if I would have lasted 11 years in the roofing industry if I had to be on a roof every single day. So shout out to everyone out there in the roofing industry. So many of you are doing right by the homeowners. And I would say that in our community, everybody who's a contractor within the Business 411 community, we work with the best contractors. They're looking to level up their companies, educate the homeowners. And so I truly believe in our cause, and I just want to say thank you to everyone and welcome. Let's go ahead and kick off episode 5 of the Roofing Leadership Lab, where we're going to be breaking down retail roofing sales versus insurance restoration. Let's get into it. What is retail roofing and what is storm restoration? What I mentioned is in this episode, we're not necessarily saying that one is better than the other and we should be focusing on one over the other. It's just if you're executing on both, how to do it well. Okay, so that's really what we're focusing on today. So go ahead and drop an answer in the poll. What best describes your current roofing sales model? Are you primarily insurance? Are you with 90-10 split? Are you mostly insurance with 70-30 split? Are you 50-50 insurance and retail? Are you mostly retail or are you primarily retail? Let's go ahead and see. What are you guys doing out there? There's two completely different business models when it comes to insurance versus retail. Now, we do have certain case studies where you have to pivot from storm restoration to more retail, and that's contingent upon approval. There's a lot of different scenarios that can happen to turn a storm restoration job into retail, but looking at both separately in two different lanes, typically what we're seeing is on the storm restoration side, there's a different type of lead source than retail roofing. The homeowner's mindset after their property has been impacted by wind, hail, or hurricane, tornado, and so on, is completely different than someone who's just shopping around due to wear and tear. Their level of urgency is completely different. The objections they might have, how many roofers they're being approached, and overall, in general, the skills, the knowledge, and the education that as sales reps, as owners, we have to have when dealing with and navigating both of these situations is also a little different. So today what we're talking about is not having to pivot to two completely different strategies, just being able to cross-train your team on handling both different scenarios. So we want to make sure that you have a well-rounded team. You have different plays in your playbook for if you have a storm restoration job that needs to pivot to retail, if you have a retail only lead, if you have a commercial lead, a residential lead, and so on and so forth. You want to be able to have different approaches is where we can follow the same infrastructure and just make sure that we're serving the customer that we're working with. And so the question really is can the same sales team actually sell both well? If you want to drop in the comments, do you think that a sales team can both sell residential roofing or on the retail side and storm restoration? Let me know what you guys think. So very interesting poll. So we have 29% of our viewers today are primarily doing insurance, 25% mostly insurance, 70-30 split. We have about 20% of you are at 50-50. We have 20% of you that are primarily retail, 90-10 split. And then we have 8% that are about that 70-30. So sounds like everyone's either doing a ton of insurance and trying to get into more retail or doing a lot of retail and wanting to improve the process that they're already executing on. Really cool. So on the retail side, typically what we're facing is the property owner. There's a lot of inbound communication for the majority of these cases. And on the insurance, so far, the focus has really been that outbound and D2D approach. And so can one sales team actually master both of these models without confusing the customer or weakening the process or confusing new sales reps? So that's what we're going to dive into today and answer this question. Now, Roofing Leadership Lab is possible and it's sponsored by Business 411. We have our upcoming roofing operations workshop October 7th through the 9th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We have different speakers, our active clients. Myself personally, I consult for companies doing $15, $20, and $25 million a year plus. We actually have several of them that come and speak at our events and share their business and their perspective with you guys. So we have some of our consulting clients that are actively working with us, as well as myself teaching the class. What we cover on this is day one, we're going to go through the different types of company structure. Day two, we're going to go through the different processes that you need to have, whether you're at 0 to 5 million, 5 to 10, 10 million plus, or even doing 25 million and more. So we're going to be breaking that down for you guys. We have a framework. It's called Structure, Process, and Accountability. It's all roofing specific information. So just a quick plug before we get into everything. Come join us October 7th, 9th through the 9th in Fort Lauderdale at our headquarters. We can fit up to 100 roofers here in our office. Structure, we're going to talk all about the who, the people on the team. Process, we're going to talk all about the what gets done A to Z, and our accountability system, which is how you make sure your team actually follows the process. So how the who does the what. Alrighty. So day one is all about setting up the company structure based off of where you're at on your revenue level. Same thing for your processes. A company that's doing $5 million a year can't run the same processes as a company doing 25 million plus. So what's specific to where you're at and what do you need to add in order to get to that next revenue tier? And day three, how can you actually make sure that your team's going to follow those processes? Can one sales team actually master both of these models without weakening the process? And so the answer is yes, but only if you have a proactive and good structure, a good process, and a good system to train and hold the team accountable. And so we're going to talk about that, how they differ from the lead source, the urgency, the decision timeline, questions that we deal with on each, and what happens with the sales reps and what kind of training they're going to need in order to handle both. Because, you know, when you're working on the retail side, you truly need to be able to understand financing versus when a customer is dealing with a claim, you really have to understand the claims process and working with adjusters and documentation and supplementing and the check. So it's a lot of information to execute either one of those well. And all we want to do is make sure that you're able to execute well on both. The way we want to think about this situation is you want to think like a football coach, right? A football team has one shared mission. We want to win the game, and every player contributes to that mission in a different way. Every position has a different responsibility. The quarterback doesn't receive the same training as the linebacker, and the receivers aren't measured like offensive linemen. I know absolutely nothing about sports, so shout out to my team. But every position uses different drills, techniques, and has different KPIs, different performance standards that they're held up to. Now, the head coach, which is if you're a sales manager or you're the owner, creates alignment across the entire team to make sure we're all on the same page. And so, even though we have one mission, which is to serve the homeowners in our community, we have different positions in order to execute that, and one coach that can manage all of that. Now, once my clients that are doing over like 20, 25 million, sometimes they actually start to have different managers for both types of scenarios. Example, I have a client that does 30 million a year in Arizona. They have one team that only does door to door, and there's one trainer that's always recruiting and training people on door to door and handling the claims process. But then they have a ton of inbound traffic that's more on that retail side. Obviously, we know that not always storm hits in the same area, especially if you're working an entire state like Arizona. You might have some areas outside of where the most recent storm was actually hit. And so they're still actively selling retail, even though they got some wind and hail in one of the areas of Arizona. They still have tons of retail opportunities in their state. They're doing commercial, they're doing residential. And so it's just really good to know at what level you typically start to see the performance of two different coaches coaching two different teams. But if you're doing less than 10 to $15 million a year, very often the same manager or the owner who's stepping in as that sales manager role could execute and help both teams. We've talked about it in some of the other classes, but you might need more of a team lead structure. And just a quick recap in case you've missed it. So our typical structure we follow, you have a canvasser, or you can have a new trainee. If you're not doing canvassing, that's totally fine. We recommend just having some type of lead generation as a starting point. Then you have your junior rep or your trainee. Then you have your senior rep, your team lead, sales manager, territory manager, VP of sales, and so on and so forth as the company continues to scale and you build out that C-suite. So jumping back into it, let's talk about the differences with retail roofing versus storm restoration. So retail, it's really all about creating the value before that urgency is fully established, because they might be shopping, they need a roof in 6 months, in 12 months, you're not 100% sure yet. Being able to have a good discovery and asking the right questions to be able to figure out what are the property owner's priorities in that time, and educating them on products, warranties, and what their options are, as well as being able to properly explain financing and what the investment looks like, as well as a lot of times, I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like the retail side, is explaining multiple estimates and why to choose yours, and then managing a longer decision cycle. Oftentimes after a storm hits, a lot of the times the contractors are getting the contingency or service agreement signed on the same day that they're actually going out and doing the inspection. Sometimes the average retail roofing cycle can last anywhere between 7 to 60 days, depending on your area and what things look like. But we obviously want to push for those one-call closes as often as possible. So on the storm restoration side, this is all based off of the weather. I wish I could control the weather because I'd send you all hail and wind right now. But since I can't, we have to respond to the demand that's created by the weather, building trust through uncertainty and stress. At the end of the day, no one really wants to go through the claims process on their home. So it's a stressful time for most property owners, and just being able to work with urgency and high volume. So all in all, the most important pillars of these different positions and being able to pivot and know what type of coaching our sales team needs is, first, we need to know the skills. What type of skills do we need to execute on both of this? Then being able to diagnose what kind of situation we're in. Example, here in the state of Florida, there hasn't been a ton of hurricanes, as many storms as there's been in the past. And so all in all, the state as a whole is really going through a big shift from a lot of storm restoration to just a lot of retail. And so that's what we're really trying to go through, is just where are you at in your market, in your cycle, what's been going on? Are you guys having a slower season? Are you having a busier season and knowing how to address what's actively happening in your market? And then coaching your team on those specifics. Oftentimes I've heard like, oh, our sales team doesn't want to join our sales meeting. And that's because there's just not enough value for them to even want to join. So we're going to talk about having value-based training where your sales reps just don't even want to miss out. So we're going to talk about how we're building this out. We can't win with just one play in our playbook. We have to have multiple plays that we can practice, rehearse, and master and adjust and run the correct play based off of the situation that we're in. So let's talk about this. What is your biggest gap right now? Do you have a do you need a high performance sales team? Do you have a good team with some gaps? Is your company's sales process dependent on which rep is running it? Is it just inconsistent across the board? Or do you have little to no sales structure in your organization right now? So do you have a high performance sales team? Do you have a good team with some gaps? Is it rep dependent? Is it inconsistent? Or do you have little to no sales structure? All right. So what we want to talk about today is a lot of times we hear this illusion of like, hey, yeah, we do retail and we do storm restoration. But the question is, are you actually doing both well to the full capacity? And what kind of happens when you start to have that split is most companies have one process that they fully implement and can execute well. And then the other one, they're kind of just winging it. It's very rare that I've seen that companies have built both out very fully, especially since this is something newer to the industry. A while back, everybody who lived in a storm restoration market just really focused on storm restoration, and everybody else kind of did retail. And I started to see the shift in the market, maybe I would say about 3 or 4 years ago. And so now we kind of have like these half-built kind of retail processes, and we're still kind of doing storm restoration, or we're really doing retail, but we're kind of doing storm restoration. So we're going to define both of those. And then typically what happens is this is where the blame game starts to happen. Like, hey, we're not succeeding. We're not hitting our quota because we haven't had a storm, because we haven't had this, because of this, and this. So a lot of times the blame games goes to what we can't control. And today we want to talk about is taking back that control, how to actually build a retail roofing sales machine, an insurance restoration sales machine. We're also going to go through the different scripts, the different presentations, what the activity should be for the different sales team, how to coach them and build the performance scorecards. And the goal of this is not to have one system that a unicorn sales rep could actually run. This is a system that anyone can follow, whether they're new to the industry or they are veteran and been doing this for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you know. So we're going to separate both of these processes today first before we talk about the overlaps and how to bring them together. So to separate it, first, we want to think about what is our actual sales machine right now. And I want you to, if you're newer to our webinars, now's when we're getting into our content. I want you to have your notes, your notepad, somewhere where you can actually write down, because we're going to get into study mode. Something that's different about my webinars, once we get through the intro, I always really dive in on content and the lesson. So if you're doing two things at once right now is your time to really lock in. Get out a pen, get out a paper, get out your notebook, make sure you have your phones app out or whatever, your notes app, and you're paying attention. So the sales machine is more than just a random script you guys are practicing or just having one sales meeting a week. It's the full documented system that produces a repeatable result, not just random individual efforts. And what we see in the industry is an owner who's phenomenal at selling and struggles to build that and duplicate themselves into a team, or an owner who is not having the best results, or manager of actually bringing a manager in, expecting the manager to fix all of the problems, and then the managers continue to fail. Or a manager who just hasn't really figured out the full recruiting, training, and onboarding system. So with those different gaps, there's many, many other issues out there when it comes to building a business. Trust me, been there, done that, and actively going through issues, right? I'm never saying this from a place of I'm perfect. It's just just these are all of the issues that we all go through in some way, shape, or form. So define customer and process. That's the first part of the machine. Who do you want to work with in your community? What areas do you want to service and target? And what processes do you need to build out to fully execute on that idea or your big dream or what you're inspiring or even why you even started this company or decided to take a leadership role if you're a manager? And then what's actually required from a tool perspective and what are the standards that you need to set for your team? And then where is this process breaking down right now? And this is really one of the pivotal starting points is where's your process breakdown today? Because if you don't fix the breakdowns in your process, it's going to be very hard to implement some of the things that we're talking about today. So let's talk about machine number one, everything on storm restoration. Let's just really focus on this one for a second. Now, we spoke about this where the weather's creating the demand, wishing you all a lot of wind, hail, and so much more. I took hail to Chicago recently, by the way, so definitely taking the credit for that recent Chicago hail. But some of the key market dynamics when it comes to storm restoration is first, it's the homeowner's mindset. A lot of times they're skeptical on contractors. I think we've all seen the viral clips of the one guy in Colorado last year. There was a hailstorm, and even that wasn't good enough for him. The guy got caught red-handed on camera, creating hail damage, falsifying it, and then if that wasn't enough, he peed on the homeowner's house. So they caught all of that on camera. So most homeowners are already approaching this with a skeptical perspective. They don't know who to trust, and so that's the very first problem you guys are going to meet. So going into that really quickly, so the highest rated problem in the sales department structure of people on this webinar today is sales structure and having a good team with some gaps. Awesome. Next is when there is a storm, you're competing against 100 roofers, so many people going out door to door canvassing, and so it's just a bunch of noise in the community. Now, the sales rep's objective in this type of scenario first is to actually build trust fast and overcome that confusion before it turns into inaction. Simple way of just the homeowner not being sure who to trust, not being sure of who to work with. And so we want to make sure that our sales reps know how to communicate and how to educate the customer. Next is being able to capture the opportunity, securing the commitment early on. High pressure sales tactics do not work like how they used to. A lot of times back in the days, people could just go out there with a contingency agreement and very little information and go and sign claims all day. And you might be one of those people who's a unicorn and can do that well. But the majority of sales reps struggle with that. So it's important to have an education-based sales approach, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then here's the biggest one is the long game, right? One of the biggest things with dealing with storm restoration is the drop-off that happens when the claims process is dragging out, or when the homeowner gets the check and all of a sudden they forgot who you are, what the adjuster meetings you went to, and all the work you did, right? So we want to make sure that we're training our team on how to play the long game with the customer and how to make sure that we're actually seeing things through. So our biggest objective when it comes to building our storm machine, capture the existing demand, move it forward with speed, clarity, and most importantly, confidence from the homeowner. So once we have that weather event, we want to get contact, get out in the market, get out there with everyone, get the inspections done, and then our rep to be able to properly explain what the damage they found. And we have a ton of training on content like this. And so the sales rep's role, right, in the insurance process is understanding that they're guiding a homeowner through an unexpected restoration process. And depending on your market, for example, if you're in Dallas, you are playing a very difficult game. You're in one of the most busy markets out there. There's so much competition. Many homeowners, actually, if you guys didn't know this, the average lifespan of a roof in Dallas is 3 to 7 years. The average lifespan of a roof in other states outside of Dallas is 12 to 15, right? And then you have some areas, obviously, where the roofs can last 25 plus, and they just don't really get hit with hail or any type of storm damage, and you are primarily seeing more retail. But it's a crazy fact. So if you're in the Dallas market, the homeowners have definitely been through the restoration process or heard about it, or they know a roofer, or everyone's a roofer in Dallas, pretty much. So the problems that you're dealing with are a lot different than those that are actually selling retail. But the biggest things that we want to do is generate and capture that opportunity, build trust with the property owners quickly, and maintain communication. At the end of the day, consistency is what's going to help you win, and building trust with people within your community. One of the reasons we do webinars like this is to build trust with our community, so you guys know that we're not just some people tell me if I'm AI, so that you know I'm actually a real human, and this is my job. So really quick, just want to let you guys know, if you do not have access to our training manuals and materials, we have over 100 pages of insurance restoration training manual with your company logo, with your company colors, everything about the insurance restoration process to train the team, and then everything about the insurance restoration process that the homeowner should know about. So this is a 12-page magazine. Well, Oscar, if you can pass me one real quick. The 12-page magazine that explains the entire insurance restoration process. And one of the things that it explains is even the different checks that the homeowner is going to get, what the different checks mean. And if you didn't know this, 1 in 20 insured homes each year actually has a claim. So there's so many different facts that make this process a lot easier. And this is what it looks like, the insurance restoration. For homeowners, you can get it with your company's logo, colors, all that fun stuff. So you can drop in the chat. And if you're already using it, drop a comment. Let people know how you're using that today. So what makes a sales rep good at insurance and storm restoration, right? First is that they know how to actually canvas, go door to door, and in a step above would be someone who's great at networking. Like if you're great at door to door and you take those same skills and you go into high impact rooms where you can not just generate 1 or 2 or 3 leads, you can generate dozens and even 100 plus, depending on what network and what room you're in. Those are the skills that truly take a sales rep to the next level. Now, also someone who's great at sales is someone who can hear the word no. I've been rejected so many times when I was doing door to door and cold calling. It was insane. Here's probably one of the bigger ones that can sometimes cause friction, is being able to properly document the inspection into the CRM. You don't know how many, well, I'm sure many of you have gone through this, how many issues happen down the line if the sales rep doesn't do a good inspection and document things properly in the CRM. All right. So that's one of those foundational training skills that all reps need to have. And then also just being really good at follow-up. The average sale takes 7 to 10 follow-up attempts to actually close. So expecting everybody to just sign on the first interaction, especially in today's day and age, isn't the most realistic. So understanding how much work you need to put in to close a deal. And then another thing is just creating urgency without fear tactics. So I don't really like to buy through high pressure or someone trying to fear monger me. I like clear education. I want to know what I'm buying, who I'm working with, and what they're doing. And you think about that, that's how people also want to buy, right? And so having a process that when we have the opportunity, we really can dominate. And so here are some of the things that we recommend on the storm restoration side. If you are going to be doing door-to-door, assigning territories for your reps when you onboard them so they have a focused area. Having a certain number of doors. Every market's a little bit different. I know I have some clients that it's 100 doors a day minimum. Others are 60 doors a day minimum. Some only knock after 4 p.m. During the week and all day on the weekends. So it just depends on your market. This is where I say, like, we give you outlines and we give you training, and then you really have to think about what's happening in your specific market and the type of homeowners you're dealing with. And then how many homeowners do they really need to interact with? How many inspections they have to complete in order to actually sign a deal? And how many of those attempts, right? You've been doing this long enough for the most part that you know if you sat down and you got a little bit more organized, with the same amount of effort you're already putting in, you can double your results. So this is one of those things where just getting organized, making sure you have all the numbers laid out so you can actually train your team and help them succeed. And then typically, how many referrals should they be getting from each appointment? These are numbers that are really, really good to track for any type of rep. There's so much more, but these are the bare minimums, is doors, inspections, contracts, and referrals. Right? We can go through like 20 different numbers, but if you're not doing these four, the rest don't really matter. So here's the scoreboard on everything we recommend for the storm restoration sales rep. First is territory dominance. Does the sales rep have multiple properties they've signed in one neighborhood, in one area? What's the speed to contact? What's the follow-up activity? And per rep, how many cancellations are you getting? If this specific rep, you see that they're getting a lot of deals signed, but they have a high cancellation rate, this is a big issue. And also, one small thing, we're not really talking about this too much today, but I want to make sure to address this, is if you're recruiting a lot of sales reps on the door-to-door side for 1099, make sure that you have a process for those claims that they're signing on how your admin or your operations team is actually reaching out to them. Because what happens is since we have such high turnover in our industry, those claims get lost and the homeowners have a bad perception of your company. So I just want to make sure you guys avoid that by having a really solid process. The rep signs a claim. Instead of that claim getting dropped off, if for whatever reason the rep gets fired or quits, you have a process of how the admin or operations team actually does a welcome call to say like, hello, hi, my name's whatever from ABC Roofing. Well, we're so happy that you decided to move forward with us, whatever, whatever. And we recommend doing that within 24 hours of them signing a contract with any sales rep. And so even if the sales rep is going to be like cradle to grave in your business model, having at least one point of contact in a high turnover industry is so important for the company to retain the customer. Okay, so a quick question for you guys. Which lead source brings your company the best results right now? Is it paid ads? Is it referrals? Is it partnerships and cross promotion? Is it door knocking? Or if it's another one, share it in the comments. We'd love to hear. So let's talk about some of the breakdowns that we see in the restoration industry and insurance restoration sales. First is waiting too long after a storm to actually enter the market and respond. No clearly assigned territory. So the sales reps at random trying to figure out what area to go and canvas. This really needs to come from the owner or the manager. If you're an owner managing the sales team, then it should come from you. If you're a manager managing the sales team, this should come from you. A real strategy on what areas to hit. And then not having enough role play or training on how to handle the doors. I was even talking to one of my clients that I'm currently doing consulting for. They are a very well-established company, but they're still struggling with some of these things. So just because you're doing a lot in revenue doesn't mean you've solved these problems. They just show up differently and clog your sales system in different ways. So having consistency in that role play, in the training, especially for new reps during the ramp up period, is so important. Here's another one: high pressure, focusing on the claim before building trust with the property owner. Why on earth should they listen to you? You're some random person that knocked on their door. And what if they don't even, your sales rep has to make sure that they're positioning themselves in a way where they're actually communicating the company's credibility, their personal credibility, and why the heck they're knocking on this person's door. Here's another issue: over promising, right? Saying, oh yeah, the insurance is going to pay for it in full right off the bat. You don't know that, right? Especially if you've been working in the insurance industry for quite a while. We've seen the issues with Allstate. We've seen the issues with State Farm and so many other carriers. The state of Florida has gone through a massive shakedown when it comes to the claims side. And so there's this now more than ever, you cannot over promise and that the carrier is going to do X, Y, and Z. Another one is creating urgency through fear tactics. This is when I first entered the industry, the most common thing that I used to see, and especially on trainings when I used to attend industry events, that was like the main training was like, hey, have them sign your contingency, the date of loss, it's right around the corner. They have to get their claim filed right now, blah, blah, blah. And so that just gives people a really bad taste in their mouth about roofing in general, about contractors in general. And so there are ways to close deals without having to use language like that. And then here's the one that I see happen across the board at volume is failing to document the inspection properly. They don't even have collateral damage photos, having a couple of random photos with no breakdown, no labels. And so it's just important to properly document the claims, especially if you want to have a good evidence package. We can have another lesson on that and just go through what should be in your evidence package. Issues that we see in the breakdown on storm restoration when it comes to follow-up and CRM failures is if you didn't close it on that sale, on that appointment or at the door, it just kind of doesn't exist and it gets lost. So very weak follow-up pipeline. A new sales rep or an established sales rep needs time to follow up with the people that they've spoken with, set aside in their schedule every day and every week. Because again, it takes 7 to 10 follow-up attempts to close a deal. And then abandoning the homeowner during claims delays. Like, come on, this is so common as well. The homeowner's waiting on you, waiting on the public adjuster, waiting on someone to tell them what's next. And then they're pretty much feeling like they're getting ghosted. Then all of a sudden, the roofer comes around when the check's there, right? So what type of communication are you doing proactively throughout that process? Even if the communication is like, hey, we have no updates, we're still waiting on the carrier every week or every other week, is still enough communication that when the actual check does arrive or when the homeowner, the claim does get approved, they're still going to be thinking of you and you're going to be top of mind. Not now they're going to go and get 25 different bids to see what's the cheapest roofer they could find so they can keep some of the insurance proceeds, right? And so that just happens because due to lack of communication after they've signed a right, depending on what state you're in, it could be a service agreement, contingency agreement. Sometimes they have to go ahead and sign a construction agreement. Again, it just varies from state to state. And then the last, but certainly not the least, is poor communication. Okay, here we go. So lead source poll answers. Highest is referrals. Okay, guys doing a good job of getting referrals. Next is door knocking. And then third place is paid ads. Awesome. Someone said other, so I want to see what the other one was. They said paid ads, social media marketing, community groups. Nice. So this is a manager and owner question. Are your reps failing because of their effort, their skill, the process you currently have, their confidence, how much they actually know, or coaching, right? Do they need more coaching? And so this is how managers can sharpen skills for the sales reps. Door opening role play. So what happens when the homeowner actually opens the door? Different scenarios for how the property might have been affected. Explaining how to explain the inspection. Explaining how to explain. Explaining how to explain the inspection, practicing that, role playing it. Here's how you present inspection photos. This is where you can tell what's wrong with the flashing. This is how you explain what hail damage looks on this photo. This is where we've seen the shingles are lifting. And then also how to explain the claims process, right? For the sales reps, not you just explaining it to them as a manager, but also having the sales reps present it and make sure they're able to comfortably explain it as well during their onboarding. How do you handle the deductible? Right? That's such a controversial conversation. Funny enough, someone commented on my ad about this video and said that I'm ruining the industry with these kind of courses and questions. And I'm like, no, you know who's actually ruining the industry is the contractors who teach their reps to create damage and eat deductibles on every claim. So definitely how to handle a deductible conversation is important. Coverage, explaining what that means. means how to actually map out their territory, whether that means like, hey, look, this is what the information means in Hail Trace. This is how you use Sales Rabbit. This is what needs to go into the CRM. Really being able to explain that process from A to Z, how they can go from not knowing where to knock to knowing where to knock, and then tracking that. Okay. And then ride-alongs, right? So not just taking your sales reps out to train them and show them how you do things, but once they've been trained up enough, every so often go out with your sales reps and make sure that they're staying sharp and following your processes. If you don't inspect what you expect, I'm pretty sure if you train them on a process and you go back 90 days later, if you've never retrained them, never did a meeting about it again, they're not going to do that process you train them on. Okay. And then every so often doing a CRM audit, making sure that everything in follow-up, everything in claim signed or filed has a hands-on approach, right? In our industry and especially in sales, it's all about follow-up. It's all about consistency. It's all about putting in the reps. And so if you don't have the CRM organized, you cannot rely on your memory alone, especially at scale. I'm guilty of it, especially when I was a sales rep. I would just run everything off of my memory. Once I learned how to use my calendar, use the CRM, and track things, my life improved, my sales improved, my average ticket improved, like everything improved just with me getting more organized. And here's the coaching standard. If you are newer to coaching or managing your team, these are really just important pillars to understand when it comes to managing your team. First is explaining the correct behavior. Second is to show them how to do it right. Then is to have the rep practice it. Next is to observe the rep in the field and then give specific actionable feedback and then repeat until the behavior becomes consistent. Now, when I love my clients, I love all of you guys are great, but here's the most common thing I hear. They saw me do it. We did some shadow training and they just don't get it. They're so dumb. The good reps are hard to find. It's like, come on, guys. They can't just see something one time and now all of a sudden they're roofing experts, claims experts. They know everything they need to know. That's the reason why I even started the manuals, right? And why so many people use them is you can't explain something once and expect people to now they know it. You can't even explain the same thing 10 times and explain people to learn it. You have to explain it, show it, practice it, and continue to reinforce that behavior. And so I just want to challenge you on, do you just not have enough patience to train people? And if that's the case, then make sure that you have training tools like our manuals, the university, the guides. You find a manager who likes training people and you put together a good process, because unless you train people, there's no way that you're going to have a repeatable system to grow your sales team, right? Vince, if you're not good at D to D, there's so many different ways to do it, right? When I originally started in sales, I was supposed to be doing door to door and cold calling, but I actually hated it. So I got on social media and started doing more social media sales. And now we do pretty much all inbound. We just get leads from Facebook. And then there's also Google. There's so many different ways to market your business. We do events. We go to different trade shows, things like that. All right. So let's get into machine number 2, which is retail roofing. So unlike the storm restoration side, retail isn't caused by, random hail, windstorm, tornadoes, hurricanes, and so on. What is actually happening typically here and the homeowner dynamic that you're walking into is they're typically comparing multiple contracts, different quotes. Someone might be looking to make a decision within that week. Some people are shopping for the next season. Some people are shopping for next year, right? That's why it's important to understand what type of property owner you're dealing with. And then typically what we see on the retail side and in general with homeowners today, we have people like conditioned to certain buying behaviors with Amazon, Instacart, delivery, apps, and Uber Eats and all of this. We're all used to, like, we want something, we buy it right away. with like no issues, and we expect like top tier customer service. And so that's what people are expecting from you. Now you have the roofing and construction industry, which is so outdated that people are just really starting to utilize their CRM and know their numbers now in these last few years. So there's a gap, right, between what the market expects and how your business is currently structured to deliver and your business model. So really what today is all about is like, what in your business process when it comes to sales specifically do you need to tighten up, whether it is retail or whether it is insurance restoration, so that you could meet the homeowner where they're at when it comes to the buying cycle. Okay, so the sales reps objectives first is to educate the property owner on what the actual problem is and help them clearly understand their roof's current condition. And so there's a couple of different ways to navigate this. There's some people who use a roof grading system. There's some people who use a diagnostics report. There's some people who have a branded sales process. I have one client who came up with like the roofing physician. And so what the first thing we do for your roof is an x-ray. There's so many great and unique ways to apply these concepts that's specific to you. And that's one of the challenges. How can you make your sales process more memorable, especially on the retail side, where the homeowner really wants to see that value? And so we really want to justify the investment, make the pricing and the product options very simple to evaluate, and then win the job. So building enough confidence for the customer to actually choose you. You know, why should people choose you? Why should they work with you? Why should they trust you? And if it's not easy for your sales reps to explain, if your sales reps aren't explaining it properly, and all the homeowners looking at is different bids, all you're going to be left with is to compete on price. And so on the retail side, the objective is to develop, understand, create value, and guide them towards making a confident decision, right? So the homeowner in this type of mindset, there's not an emergency. They have time to think about it unless their roof is literally falling apart and they have an active leak. That's the only time they have true urgency. So we have to understand how to drive urgency throughout this process. Now, this is what the homeowner is thinking. And the reason I'm approaching it from this angle is when we put ourselves in our customers' shoes more often, then we can become better at actually selling and closing those deals because we're thinking about the people that we're serving versus just the end result that we're trying to get, which is a closed deal. So what the homeowner is usually thinking is, do I really need to replace my roof right now? Can I repair it? How much is it going to cost? Why is your estimate higher than the others? What's the difference between these warranties? Is this the right investment for my home? And I'm sure if you sat down and you thought about it, you could think of 10 more things that homeowners are usually asking you. But the reason we like to think about what is the homeowner asking is because your sales presentation or your pitch deck or your pitch book should answer these questions specifically. Can you throw me one of our clients' magazines? And so we have a couple of different ways. We suggest handling the sales process. Yes, we have presentations, but one of the things we recommend is having a custom magazine, a custom pitch deck, custom pitch book for your full sales process. I don't know how well you can see it. Maybe you can hold it up closer to the camera than I can. But the reason this is important is when you think about what the homeowner, yeah, that looks a little bit better. It looks terrible. You can't see anything. Maybe we can, in the Q&A time, we'll go through a couple of examples. But my question to you, all right, what type of sales experience does your team provide to the property owner right now? Okay, there's no right or right answer. It's just like, where exactly are we? Do you have a transactional where you're just like, hey, I'm just gonna get you a quick estimate, quick turnaround? Are you all about educating the property owner? You have like 2-hour presentation meetings and you're just sitting there and providing them with a roofing seminar. consultative. You're really uncovering the homeowner's needs. Personally, my approach is a consultative sales. I love to really understand what drives people, why they want to make this decision. And I could truly sit there and talk to someone for a very, very long time about what their mindset is and their buying frame and their entire behaviors. Not everyone has the patience for that. Some people prefer that premium white glove concierge level approach. This is someone, what I would consider someone who's really using a technology first sales approach. And then if you have something else you're doing, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear it. What the retail customer mindset is and what they actually need. First, they need education and honest opinions. And honest options. Second, they need to understand financially what this means, and you need to have financing in place. Next is clear differentiation from your competitors. What makes you different? And then reduced perceived risk, because retail's a little bit scarier for homeowners since they're either paying out of pocket or going through financing. They want to make sure that you're a safe company for them to bet their resources on. And then the fifth is a compelling reason to act now. Why should they do this now? We all know that getting our roof done next year is just going to be more expensive because labor and materials are going up. And there's so many things happening in our industry right now that's going to continue to increase the cost. So the cheapest time to buy a roof was yesterday. Now's the next best time, right? And so just being able to educate the property owner. On the retail side, we do have homeowner education on residential roofing for property owners. We also have homeowner education for gutters and siding as well. These are all different sales presentation tools. We even have it for commercial. For the commercial side, I documented the national case studies of roof failure just due to deferred maintenance, things that could have been avoided and caused billions of dollars in damage just from people not maintaining their commercial roofing system. So if you want to check those out, make sure to drop a comment. We're happy to provide you guys with all the different resources and tools we've created at Business 411 that over 4,000 roofing contractors are using today. So this is the retail roofing customer journey. Obviously, they have some type of concern. You have to do discovery, inspection, and education. Sometimes people do a one-call close. Sometimes people do a two-step close. And typically what the two-step process might look like is they do the inspection, create the estimate, and then go back and do the presentation separately. One call close is you're doing everything on that appointment. Now, for me personally, I've been doing this long enough that I've seen contractors succeed with a 1,000 different sales processes. What I see the highest success rate is people who follow one process across a team consistently. That is the key differentiator, is the consistency in which you apply the process. So the sales rep's role when it comes to retail is all about qualify, discover, and educate, present options and financing. I have one client. He has a $25 million a year roofing company in Pennsylvania. He does all retail. Very funny guy. And this is why I say there's 1,000 different ways to succeed. His entire approach is, if someone comes and tells you to do good, better, best, they're just trying to get, it's called price farming. They're trying to get you to go for the best roof when all I'm going to sell you is the best roof. And he says homeowners literally call him back to tell him, hey, well, you know what? These other roofers came and they tried to do that thing you were talking about, the price farming, the good, better, best. And he wins jobs just by doing that. On the flip side, I have some contractors who only do good, better, best presentations and good, better, best estimating, and that's how they close every single deal because they help the homeowner choose the system that feels the best for them. So that's why I'm such a big believer. And if someone says like there's only one way to succeed in roofing sales, I call bullshit, because I've seen it done well in 100 different ways, 100 different sales process. It's all about what works best for your business, your market, and the people you're dealing with. And so being able to present your options properly, present financing and go through follow up and close. But financing in any type of way, or I think right now I just saw in the chat the financing conversation on deductibles. That's the most important thing across the board. If you do not have a good financing company that you can provide to property owners, it's going to make sales a lot harder, especially we're in this time right now where cash reserves are tight for a lot of people. Financing is a no-brainer. So the skills of an elite retail sales rep, some of them are discovery and listening. Now, roofing is a male-dominated industry, and listening is one of the most important traits out there that anyone can learn. What we came up with is the latte method. This will work not just with your customer, it'll also work for those gentlemen on the call. Try this with your wife. First is listen. So active listening, listen, take action. What's happening after you're taking action? Then it's thanking them. I'm sorry, no, it's listen actively, right? And then it's thank them for sharing, take action, and then get them excited on what's the next step. So that's the Starbucks latte method. Listen actively, thank them, take action, and then get them excited. It's the best way. You can use it for any type of, literally any type of person that you need to listen to on anything. Product and warranty education. If you're pitching your manufacturer's warranty or your workmanship warranty or whatever the case is, just having your sales reps being able to actually present those options, and then going through what the monthly payment options are. And then here's the biggest one is long-term follow-up. I'm willing to follow up with everyone on this call until you guys tell us to stop calling you. That's how often we're willing to actually follow up with y'all. So retail sales is won before the price is ever shown. It's built through working with the property owner, demonstrating value, and having those conversations. So before even presenting, truly understand what's the homeowner's primary concern, what's the condition and the risk of the existing roof, the cost of them delaying their action, product and warranty priorities, and then budget or payment consideration, and then what makes your company actually different. So out of everyone here, the type of sales experience does your team provide? The homeowner, the number one answer is educational. Love it. And we're a split tie between quick estimates and consultative. So here are the common mistakes that kill retail sales. First is giving them the number before even building any type of value. So not even having any type of report or presentation, letting the homeowner compare on price only, skipping financing because the rep doesn't know how to explain it and they're not properly trained, and then assuming the homeowner understands the difference between you and ABC Roofing. So what is the difference between ABC Roofing and XYZ Roofing other than the name? If they use the same manufacturer, okay, other than the certifications from your manufacturer, what makes you different? Right. And then your team should be able to clearly communicate that to the property owner. And newsflash, just saying we do good quality isn't enough of a differentiator for anyone to actually know that you're the better roofer. And so how is it actually won before the price is shown? This is what we recommend implementing into your training stack, having discovery question workshops, having the sales reps actually practice what type of questions they should ask the homeowner and how to handle them, product comparison exercises, financing role play. This one's so important on retail. Just spending time proactively going through the financing company that you're using, presenting the options, teaching them how to go through that whole application process quickly. Good, better, best presentation practice. And if you're like my guy in Pennsylvania that hates good, better, best, just practicing your sales presentation and your pitch deck in general. And then how to actually present the estimate as well. So what is your estimate? How do you present your scope of work? And then on the price objection side, that's going to be one of the most common concerns on the retail. But how often are you guys actually just practicing and role playing price objections, right? And that one's really important. Competitor comparison, if the homeowner asks what's the difference between you and the cheapest being able to answer those questions properly, follow-up call reviews and lost sales. So why are you guys actually losing sales, and watching that playback footage? What happened? What can we do better? And how can we continue to improve? And then write along an appointment debriefs. Question in the comments. I recommend Enhancify. They're a really great, you can tell Chris Scoville, we sent you over, known him for a really long time, and he's a really great guy. If you haven't checked them out, and also you should have multiple financing companies that you can use. That way, you know, if one doesn't go through, you have other options. So definitely check out Enhancify. The coaching standard, and Kelly, I don't know if we have a link for them that we could drop. I know we used to have one for his old company. So this is the coaching standard for retail. Identify what your current sales reps are missing, demonstrate what the expected behavior is, practice it repeatedly, observe the rep applying it, provide specific measurable feedback, and then track whether performance actually changes. And so what does that mean, guys? Does this mean we're going to one time say, guys, we do retail, and now all of a sudden everyone in our sales team is going to become like retail sales masters? No. What do we need to do? How are we baking it into our structure? How are we breaking it into our process? Remember, October 7th through the 9th, we're talking about your full company structure. And this is a great time for you guys to join us and work on your business model specifically, because we're going to talk about how to structure your actual entire roofing and construction business. And so on the retail side, we really want to track that top of funnel leads, people that we're bringing into the pipeline, inspections, things like that. Mid funnel, how many estimates we're presenting, what type of options, how often we're actually going through financing, how many presentations we're completing, and how often we're actually following up. And then closing and profitability. Closing and profitability, what's the close rate, the average contract value, gross profit margin, sales cycle length, referral rate, if at all any cancellations, and so on. And if you're interested in attending the October 7th through the 9th, I think we just got a comment there. Carlos is going to be reaching out to you. Carlos, are you on the call? Can you drop a couple of chats? October 7th through the 9th, you guys don't want to miss out. Like, I'll show you just a sneak peek. This is the book that we go through. Like, that's how much content we go through. It is 200 pages of how a roofing company is structured. And it's actually, we break down live case studies in it as well. So here are some of the breakdowns that happen in the retail sales cycle. The October 7th to the 9th event is in person or virtual. You can either choose to come in person or you can choose to come virtual. If there's still enough time for those of you who want to come in person, that I would definitely recommend coming in person, because it's not just getting the information like this from me. You also get to talk to my other clients. And myself personally, I'm a private consultant for companies doing over $15 to $20 million a year. So a lot of those people come in person because I'm their consultant. And so you get to meet with them, network from them, and also network with them and actually hear them speak. And then we have some of our smaller clients. Like we have one of our clients that actually started working with me when he was doing $4 million a year, and he attended this class. They're going to do $10 million this year, all retail. So he's actually going to be speaking at this event as well. So this goes through sorry, just to get back to this, the common retail sales breakdowns, not doing proper discovery on what the homeowner's wants and needs actually are, talking more than active listening, presenting products without connecting them to the homeowner's priority, if their priority is budget, or is their priority they want the nicest home on the block. They're all about that curb appeal, right? Presentation failures typically are only showing them either A, one option, or not going through what the type of options could potentially be. Treating financing as an afterthought rather than it's baked into your process and your reps are trained on how to explain the monthly payments. Presenting price before establishing value. And here's one of the biggest, it's failing to differentiate the company. Follow-up failures, giving up after one or two attempts, avoiding asking for the sale entirely, and then failing to ask why the homeowner didn't move forward. If someone says no, there's nothing wrong to ask them, okay, can I ask why? Like, why don't you want to go with us? And that can give us the opportunity to uncover some of those objections. And so, is the rep losing because of price? Or because the customer never truly understood the value. And retail is all about demonstrating your value, right? And being able to present it properly to the homeowner. So that's really one of the biggest differentiators is your presentation. So think about this now. Which improvement to your sales presentation process would have the greatest impact on your close rate? Is it to better educate homeowners on their option? Is it to improve how we communicate our value? Is it a more consistent presentation process? Is it better handling objections and pricing or other? If there's another reason, share it in the comments. I'd love to hear that. When it comes to retail versus storm restoration implementation, making sure that you have both of these machines really built out. What does the customer journey really look like? What are the scripts that need to be in place for each of those different processes? What needs to happen in the CRM when it comes to managing a claim versus a retail deal? What are the KPIs and numbers you need to track for both? What is the training path to take someone from green bean or someone who's never sold retail before, only has done insurance? What would they need to know to learn how to sell retail? And then what's the coaching standard? If you're an owner on this call, you can't leave everything alone to the manager. You really have to be able to provide them with also the tools. And that's why we're such a big advocate for Business 411 implementation for managers. We spend so much time training sales, operations, and production managers because they're an underserved market. A lot of times sales managers are just thrown into a department and like, hey, figure it out. Or a top sales rep is promoted with very little to no training. And if you've made that call in the past, it's very common in our industry. But outside of the construction industry in any corporation, the manager's training program is 6 to 12 months on how to be a good manager. And so it's something that people can't just be thrown into and they figure it out magically. Yeah, maybe you could have a unicorn figure it out, but those people are not the majority. And so as an owner, we have to take responsibility and help our managers become more successful and work alongside our managers versus playing that blame game, right? How can we work together? And so this is just making sure that you guys understand the standards that you set. You can share it with, retail versus storm restoration, no matter what. Integrity and communication, ethical selling in all interactions, process discipline, adhering to the CRM, following the processes, putting in proper notes, being professional, and the business health, right? Making sure that you guys understand what your guys' gross profit margin is and so much more. Now, here's what I recommend on the separate playbooks. For the retail roofing side, you need to have your process for what that lead qualification looks like, the type of discovery questions you're asking, the inspection points, because obviously on a lot of the retail deals, you might not be documenting storm damage to submit evidence in a package to a carrier to get the claim approved. That's going to look a little bit different. So what is it going to look like? How are you going to educate them on the product, the installation process, the processes for their options for financing? How are you going to present the estimate? How often are you going to follow up? What are you going to do for closing? Are you going to do like the trial close? How are you going to handle those objections and so on? And so the number one answer was to create a more consistent presentation process. Guys, I got you. Like, seriously, if you guys need a consistent sales presentation and you want A to Z process for sales, we have affordable, budget friendly answers for you guys. We have our guides, our templated ones start at $300 with your company's logo and colors. And then we have options if you want us to fully build out your process. We have consulting packages. Like, there's no reason for that to be in one of the top issue. We got you guys. And everything on that list we can help you guys with. Storm restoration playbook. Make sure that you have a process to assign territories, how to approach the door, how to document an inspection properly. This is so important when you're going to submit it to the carrier. What does that damage look like? What happens if the claim is partially approved or denied when you're doing the repairability test, right? There's so many variations in the claims process that you really have to have those things mapped out to train a team on how to properly execute. Homeowner communication, how do they actually sign the contract, claim follow-up, and then how do you dominate a neighborhood? And so I recommend really going through these example plays and practicing them, right? The winning teams aren't the ones that just show up on game days and expect to win. It's the ones that actually have the most amount of practice sessions, that have that consistency, that have the discipline. And so that's what we recommend. And here's a couple of things that we recommend for the plan on how to schedule these in. You have your 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 8. Your next 8 retail sales trainings right here. There you go. Broken up for you. Your next 8 for the storm restoration side, done. How to approach the door, how to explain storm damage, how to explain the inspection photos, what's the claim process, deductible and coverage, urgency, territory planning, and then how to ask for a referral. There you go. Your next 8 sales trainings on storm restoration. And just so you understand, this presentation is like the highest level of information. We get so granular that each of these plays turns into pages of checklists, content, how your manager does it, how your team needs to study it. We have over 60 hours of training for sales reps on roofing and insurance restoration specifically. And like I mentioned, our live events throughout the year. And so these are the different scoreboards for retail versus storm restoration. Now, this is really important, is teaching your sales reps how to read the field, right? Why did the homeowner enter this conversation? How did we get here? And knowing which of the plays to run. Is insurance realistically part of the solution? Which playbook begins and might it need to transition? Let's say, for example, they had storm damage in the past, but they were one of those homeowners that spent the funds and didn't even end up replacing the roof and just pocketed the money. And now they need to pay for a roof out of pocket, right? This happens. It's not an uncommon scenario, right? We don't want it to be the majority of it, but it's happened, having to get a roof replaced after they spent the money. That's a realistic scenario that has to happen to some people. And so those are hard lessons that the homeowner needs to learn, but you also need to know how to address it as the contractor and as the sales rep. And then the most important is to be able to spot the opportunities in our market. Think about where your market's at right now. Do you have a fresh storm? And then if you don't have a fresh storm, well, what do you have going on? What are the benefits and how can you leverage what's happening today to come out winning, right? So you can still meet your goals, so you can still sell at the volume that you need. One of the things that we talk about is you're always going to fall back to the level of structure that you've built. You could have a $10 million a year, but if you don't have a $10 million a year structure, that revenue is going to decline if there's not a storm. And so having a good, consistent process on how to execute that structure consistently. And here's a couple of ways when a storm restoration actually becomes retail, if we don't have damage, if the claim's denied or partially covered, upgrades. This is a great opportunity for upgrades. You can, hey, look, your carrier is going to replace your roof. Now's the time. Do you want to get new siding? Maybe they didn't have enough siding damage. Maybe they didn't have other trades, especially if you provide multiple trades outside of roofing. They're already doing the roof, might as well do more. So all in all, All in all, the rep needs to understand that when a customer needs a new roof, it isn't just about do they qualify for storm damage, if that's all that they're used to selling is. If the homeowner needs a roof, well, insurance or retail, that's just a method of payment. At the end of the day, the property owner still needs a new roof. And so who are they going to choose and why should they choose you? And so, when it comes to retail, if you're in an area that is impacted by storms every so often, even if it's not the majority of the work that you do, depending on where you're located and the average lifespan of the roof, you're always building your book of business. And this is why we recommend having annual inspections and different programs to stay top of mind, letting them know, like, hey, if we redo your roof every time there's a storm, you're putting on priority service. If you need a tarp, we'll come and take care of that immediately. You get same day service when there is an issue that occurs like that. And then having maintenance programs. If you're going to do annual or maintenance programs, my biggest recommendation is to have a standard package that's included, and then what's the upgraded package that they can choose. And if one day you want to exit your business or sell it, well, the way that private equity values your maintenance program is future jobs in the pipeline. So that's future growth. So it's really important if you at all want to exit your business in the future to have some kind of annual or maintenance program baked into your business model. So, regardless if you're doing retail or if you're doing storm restoration, it's just executing both well and understanding the processes that need to happen or vary from how they're actually paying and what happens in the presentation. Overall, that's really the biggest difference is how you approach the door, how the method of payment they're actually using, how you're showing them the inspection photos, how you're presenting what your presentation actually is, and then your contract, and then claim to production process as well. So there is a lot of variables. It's just properly tracking them, documenting, and training our people. So there are sales reps right now on your team that could probably handle both. It's just making sure that we're providing them with the proper training. So think about this right now. Which improvement would have the greatest impact on your business right now? Is it being able to generate more qualified leads? Is it to improve your sales process and your close rate? Is it to build a stronger system and accountability? Or is it to train and develop your team? If it's something else, share it in the comments. Now, here's a question you might not like to answer. Who is not ready to be cross-trained? Oof. First of all, if you have a rep that's really been focusing on storm restoration, but doing a bad job of taking photos, doing a bad job of already using the CRM, and is the most inconsistent, that person needs to be actually more trained on the process gaps that they already have. And or someone who doesn't truly understand what you're already selling. They don't understand how your company stands apart, or they have a knowledge gap. And then last but not least is behavior gaps. Someone that depends naturally on their personality to sell only. They don't really have that knowledge to sell based off of. The person who's the most resistant to coaching and feedback, and cannot adapt communication to the homeowner. So anyone right now that's very inconsistent with their results, someone who's inconsistent with their performance, that isn't the person to say like, hey, let's go learn how to excel at this. This person needs to get more training on how to do their job today. And as an owner, manager, or leader, take accountability first and say, did I provide them with all the training tools necessary? And think about it. Most people need to read, see, hear, practice, apply, and then they get to have at least a foundational knowledge. And even if you do all of that, if you don't repeat it at all again, in 90 days, they're only going to remember 20% of what you told them in the beginning. That is just human statistics. This is not like if there's the frustration that you feel with people not remembering what you say or not listening to direction or asking you the same questions is just because of how humans learn. And so that's why you have to have the right person in the right seat to address training, coaching, retention, repetition, repetition, repetition. So the 5 areas that every sales manager or leader must coach how to recognize the opportunity, what playbooks we run, what are the skills that they need to have, practice and field application, and then the scoreboard performance. So before a rep can actually execute the right playbook, they have to understand the situation. The manager really has to know, does this rep understand the differences between storm damage? Do they understand the difference between a residential or commercial customer as well? So there's so many different things for you to first assess where your different sales reps are, and then figuring out where are their gaps and how you can actually train them on it. So assess your sales reps, what's their gap, go through the playbook, what do we need to run with them, and then for you guys at a high level to think about, where did our process break and what behavior should have occurred instead. Next is position specific skills based off of their job. What skills are necessary? What are they missing? Do they not know how to present financing options? Do we not even offer financing right now? And if we don't, how can we get that set up ASAP? Select one or two priority skills per rep and then build a specific development plan and measure whether that skill actually improves. So taking your different reps, where do you need to coach them, and making a plan and actually working the plan with them. So practice and field application, role play, presentation review, ride along. I can't even stress how important it is to do the presentation review often. And then the coaching rhythm, remember, you explain, demonstrate, practice, observe, give specific feedback, repeat it all over again, and then measure improvement and reinforce the standard. Last but not least, the scoreboard. Revenue tells you the final score. How well your team performs today is a direct reflection on how good your training program is, on the level of your accountability, and how you're preparing them to actually go out there and perform. So the weekly practice plan, shared team practice, practicing retail, practicing what we do on the storm side, storm restoration side, and what happens when there's some crossover. So here's the entire plan for the next 2 weeks. That's our goal, right? On every one of these sessions for you guys to work on a different area of your business every 2 weeks. First, map your machine. Second, define your players' skills. Next, what playbooks are you missing? Scripts, questions, presentations. We can do all of that for you. Build your scorecards and then launch your coaching. So we can help you guys expedite this entire process. If you want to book a call with us, we do have the QR code for you to get some information, and my team will drop it in the chat. A little bit more about the October 7th through the 9th event. It is my first class that I ever taught, like in 2022 or 2021 is when I started the group coaching. And the reason I started the group coaching is because I used to travel, and every week I would go to a different roofing company's office and work with the owner, the sales manager, the operations manager, and the production manager. And I'd spend 3 days mapping out their processes, going through their bottlenecks, creating their training, and doing their SOPs. So before ChatGPT, it was Liz GPT. And so every week I'd create a playbook for a different roofing company. But what I started to see after like 100 companies of sitting down and mapping out their processes for them was the same issue over and over again. The same lead processes, the same issues with the pricing. And so when we did the group coaching class, I looked at all of the different patterns, all of the different same problems I had solved from actual roofing companies that I was working with, and was like, okay, these are all of the problems that everyone has. Here's one section. And now since then, throughout these last few years, we've had hundreds of contractors attend. This is actually in our office. So we always cover the same content and we expand it. So we have different classes. This one's on your full company structure. Sometimes we have the sales one. Sometimes we do, like, if you want to open a new branch, what that strategy looks like. And we have real clients that you guys can talk to. We have over 250 5-star reviews on Google as a roofing specific coaching and training program that is so difficult to do, especially in our industry and our space. So what we've created is the SPA framework. It's all about structure, process, and accountability. Structure is who on your team owns sales, who owns production, who owns operations. Having clarity on the roles, processes is what is happening with the lead process, closing process, actual handoff process, and what happens through production, and then quality assurance and customer retention. And then who does the what? This is KPIs by role, what each department manager should be doing. So as an owner, you can come with your sales manager, operations manager, and production manager to get on the same page, or just come with your GM. And then every single day, it's actually broken down by your revenue, your business model, your org chart, and then we'll separate each department out and go through who needs to do what. On day 2, it's all manager training. We're focusing on what the managers need to know to succeed and manage the individual departments with all of their workflows. And day 3 is how we implement all of this information. So go ahead, book a sales department strategy session with us, and can't wait to see you guys there. Thank you, everyone. Thumbs up. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate you all. Thank you. We'll catch you guys at the next Roofing Leadership Lab. Make sure that you click the link, you sign up for the next Roofing Leadership Lab. And if you guys see us on Facebook, comment on the ads. Say, oh my God, these people are real. This girl, Elizabeth, she's crazy, but she knows what she's talking about. And share your experience with us. It's so motivating for me to hear good things from you guys. If this was impactful for you at all, please make sure you share it with us. You can leave us a Google review, a Facebook review. Like I said, I'm so passionate about this. Like, I swear to you, I'm literally yelling this whole time because I enjoy this. I feel like this is like my mission. Once I got into the roofing industry and I started getting to know all the different contractors and working with people in their business, I just fell in love with it. It's just been such a great honor to be able to help people grow their businesses. I feel like I get to serve people, help them actually create their dream company, and then by that process, actually help other people. All the different sales reps. I know how frustrating it is for new sales reps who have good intentions, but they just don't have a good system to learn. And then vice versa, the owners have the best intentions and want to learn and want to grow, but they just don't know what to do next. And I feel like what we're able to do at Business 411 is give good sales reps the structure they need and give owners the tools and structure they need so they can help more reps be successful. I think we have a responsibility when we bring people into the industry to really spend time training them, educating them. And so I'm just part of the change that I want to see. I believe in being the change you want to see in the world. And so I definitely want to see a change in the construction industry, helping people that are just getting started, not looking down on them, but rather than that, instead of not necessarily giving them a handout, but a hand up, helping new people come into the industry, helping owners recruit, train, and onboard top talent so that the industry can collectively grow, right? So I just want to say thank you so much. Please leave us a Google review. My team's going to drop it in the chat. Those Google reviews and your shared experiences, even like I said, if you see one of my ads, please comment on it. It really helps us out. That's a great way you can give back. If you decide you'd like to start working with us, I'd love to welcome you into our community. And I'd love to see you at our next live event. This will be like definitely nothing like anything else you've ever attended. It's like college meets roofing. And I think I'm kind of funny in those classes. I try to keep you guys entertained because everyone has like ADHD. And so we're taking people who are used to being on the roof and out all day and putting them in the class and getting them to focus for 3 days. I think we do a really good job of it, and we have the best community. So if you're looking for a great community of contractors with good structure, good curriculum, it's not a freaking ongoing sales pitch fest. You get what you paid for, which is a top tier class, top tier content. And as we continue to grow with you, obviously we have different solutions and different ways to serve the different contractors and work with you. And we're always happy to just grow with you guys. As your business continues to grow, you're always going to need different solutions, and that's where we come in. So thank you so much. Much love to all you guys, and I'll see you on the next Roofing Leadership Lab episode.